episode we have in store for you today. I'm joined by one of the members of our RNT family, Suraj Sodha, who's been on an incredible life-changing journey over the past 18 months with us. After going through a very tough period in his life, Suraj was at rock bottom and was searching for an avenue to deal with the pain, which is where the spark to transform his body came and the relentless focus on yourself that comes with it. Ever since, he's broken from the shackles of his past and forged together a future that is extremely exciting. His confidence is through the roof, his business has blown up, and his relationships in life are stronger than ever. An incredible story, and in today's Candid episode, Suraj leaves no stone unturned and talks about the emotional and mental journey he's been through so far. Okay, so how did the shoot go?
The shoot was everything I thought it would be, and also completely different. I had in my mind, I'd almost imagined before the shoot what I would be like, how I would walk, how I would pose, and how the environment would be. But then when we started the shoot itself, I don't know. I think I just had some out of body experience going into the shoot from an emotional point of view, knowing what it represented for me, and actually doing it, realizing in that moment, oh crap, this is the moment. I'm now standing in the moment I had almost imagined 18 months or so ago, and many times along that journey. So I was having these weird sort of out of body experiences throughout the shoot, and that's not in a bad way. It was a great experience, and I left the shoot feeling so accomplished, so happy, and the overall experience, the shoot was great. But the best way to describe it was everything I thought it would be, and nothing like I thought it would be at the same time.
Amazing. Can you go into some of these out-of-body experiences you were experiencing?
I think it comes. I mean, it doesn't. It's not anything overly exciting or psychedelic or anything. It's more me going back and forth to what I was doing here in the first place. So remembering my why, remembering my the journey along the way, the ups and downs, and almost I found myself laughing at myself. Not in a like a derogatory way, but laughing to myself. Sorry, not laughing at myself, laughing to myself. During one of the poses, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, do you remember?" Like just almost talking in my own head that this time last year I was out for 2 months because I had my appendix operation, or and just remembering little random things like that, which were clearly just somewhere in the back of my mind. So all of these memories, all of these defining moments along the transformation journey, these defining checkpoints, if you will, started coming back to me during the shoot. And they were all very poignant. They weren't just random. I think they were all very defining moments where I looked back and thought that might have been a moment I was going to suck it in. Or maybe not as extreme as completely calling it off, but that was a moment I really remember struggling through and thinking, am I doing the right thing? Is everybody else right to tell me that I'm crazy or that I'm not, I'm actually doing something wrong? So a lot of the outer body experiences, maybe that's a really extreme way of talking about it. It was more being very, very consciously aware of the journey that had culminated in this shoot.
What was some of the most difficult, poignant moments you were referring to in the journey that you now look back and think, I'm happy that I got through that?
Yeah, 100%. So I think the first one has to start with the main reason I got into RNT and into fitness and training. So almost taking it back a step, when I met you 2 years ago, because it was in the summertime, where I remember having that call with you, and you were in a coffee shop somewhere in London with your headphones on, saying, "All right, I'll give you 10 minutes of my time," on a phone call, and we did a video call where I was that, first inquiry stage. And my reason for reaching out for you, we didn't actually start working together for a couple of months after that, I remember. But my first inquiry was because I was going through a rough time in various areas of my life. I had just recently sold my business, and that was my baby. I grew this business from my laptop in my box room at home when I lived at home to a relatively successful business with staff and clients, hundreds of clients all over the country, financially doing very well, provided for me over the years. It gave me this lifestyle, a certain entrepreneur's lifestyle that so many people dream about. And I was so fortunate and blessed that this business that I'd created afforded me that lifestyle. I was traveling the world. I was, earning good money. I was doing everything a 20-something-year-old guy wanted to do and would dream about doing without the shackles of a 9-to-5 job. So I was, as you could call it, I was living the dream, right? And for a whole series of reasons, I ended up selling that business. So I was feeling extremely lost for that reason. For starters, I felt like I lost my purpose a little bit because I was still working in the business. I just didn't own it anymore. So I was still running the business. And actually, I still do run the business to this day. But I'm in a very different place right now. But initially, I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing, where I was. At the same time, I was going through a really difficult personal issue in my relationship, in my marriage as well. So coupled with my work-related stress, if you want to call it that, and then issues in my marriage, which ultimately led to my marriage breaking down and going through a divorce later that year. That all of these reasons compounding were the reason I was forced. I say forced, but not, aggressively forced in a way of that there was no other route for me. I had to do this. This was whatever I needed to do to find that focus on myself again. So through all of these things that were happening in life, and I know life happens to everyone. All these things happen. Bad things happen. Good things happen. And I found myself with a very serious lack of focus in life, lack of focus in my relationship, which was spiraling out of my control, lack of focus in my business, which I had lost control of. So I guess I started my business 11, 12 years ago. I only had a job for a year and a half after I graduated from university. So all I know in life in my adult life and working life is how to own and run your own business. I don't know how to be an employee. So I found that really difficult, and the transition lost a lot of my focus and my passion for work. So it was actually people around me, mentors, counselors, friends who said, Suraj, you need to find something to focus on yourself, not your work, not your relationship, not your family, not people around you. What can you do for yourself that is selfless? And some people might call it selfish, but you need to shut everything else out. Find something that will force you to be 100% focused on yourself. And there were a whole bunch of suggestions. Someone said, learn a different language and take up a hobby of some sort to learn a new skill set, or loads of different things like that, which nothing appealed to me. And then actually, I remember it was me that suggested, or maybe I should hit the gym. A lot of people talk about the meditative values or the benefits of going to the gym and having that focus and really getting into that zone. And I'd never been a gym guy before. I'd done various home workout programs before my wedding and before milestone holidays and stuff like that. And they'd worked to a degree, but I'd never really been to the gym. And certainly hadn't had a nutrition plan or anything as complex as that. So I was like, okay, well, maybe let's try this gym thing and working out thing. A lot of people talk about how transformative it can be for your mindset and your body, of course, and all areas of your life. So let's give it a go. And that's when I'd seen a bunch of posts from you on various social media platforms. I reached out, and there began the journey. So a lot of my shoot day mindset was about that process, about that beginning stage of the journey, that where I was 2 years ago, thinking about the reasons behind why I inquired in the first place, to right now standing in this gym with my top off and someone's taking photos of me. Like, it was just such a such a mind fuck. Like, oh my god, that wasn't actually that long ago, and so much has changed in such a short period of time. So I was back and forth in those thoughts, and then laughing to myself about my, as you, I'm going to quote you here, my hissy fits along the way about me messaging you saying, Akash, I just had a Jaffa cake, what should I do? Or I just eaten some biscuits at a conference I'm at, like, what should I do? Like, or, like just feeling sorry for myself a little bit. And I was laughing at a lot of those moments along the way. And the biggest moment, I think, where I doubted the whole process was in January last year. So just over a year ago now, when my appendix burst, when I was in the office at work, as you do, and I was rushed to hospital. It was fairly critical. They had to operate pretty quickly to stop it from perforating even more, which can be really dangerous. So I was in surgery overnight and in recovery for 2 months. Couldn't, just about lift my cutlery to eat my food, let alone lift in the gym. So my recovery period was tough, because I'd gone from seeing loads of progress, losing loads of weight, getting into shape, all of that good stuff, to then hitting this brick wall, not because of, anything that happened in the gym, not because of anything that was a mental block about it. It was purely something that I couldn't control. And the challenge of, I guess I remember reading an article or something about how football players and how sports, how athletes, not just football players, athletes deal with these major injuries. And you see football players all the time break their legs or break bones in their body. And yeah, they're out for the season, but they come back. And more often than not, an athlete can have a break in their bone or a serious muscle injury, and through the right physio, through the right care and the right recovery, they come back and they perform at that top level again. So I remember thinking, hang on a minute, stop feeling sorry for yourself. It was only your appendix. Put it into perspective. I didn't break my leg or anything. So I think that was the first time I really learned in this journey of putting things into perspective. That, if a football player can break their leg and come back and play in the World Cup a year later, little old me with my little appendix that's just burst and been operated on, and it's all fine, 2 months of recovery, and then going back in the gym, I felt myself just feeling sorry for myself. So that was the first time I really had to learn how to control and manage this, the dip in motivation there, and whether I can do this or whether I'm doing the right thing. But I decided to do the shoot on day one. I didn't book it until obviously only 3-4 months ago, but I decided 2 years ago, 18 months ago when I started, that this is going to be, the shoot is going to be the day that I end almost officially this certain chapter of my life and move on from all of the things that caused me to want to change my body and change my lifestyle and change my mindset around all of this. The shoot day was almost like the deadline day. Even though I've since, built different businesses, I'm very much back on track in my life, and all the things are much better. the shoot day was always my deadline day for some reason in my head, and it was always this magical, mystical date that I had in my head, where after this day, it's day one again, day one of this new life. And I think that's what I've been working towards so much. So the shoot day itself, whilst I was, flexing and doing the poses that you were telling me to do and going through the motions, that the shoot day itself wasn't about the photos for me. It wasn't about the posing. It was about what it represented for me, the end of a certain period of my life where it was rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough along the way. The reason I don't, it's one of these weird situations where, do I regret everything that happened in my life? Well, no, but would I have done things differently? Maybe. But if it weren't for everything that happened in my life, my marriage breaking down, me selling my business, eventually having to move back home, all of these things, if these things didn't happen in my life, then I wouldn't have been there on that day doing my shoot with this amazing body transformation, losing all this weight and getting into shape of my life. So I found myself at that conflict of, was it worth it? Like, would I go through all of that again in order to get to this day again? So that's the kind of out of body experience I was having. And then I had you screaming in my ear, abs, 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 every 5 seconds. I had the photographer, Ben, who was great with me, he was patient with me, saying, do this, do that, jump up on this. We had the video guy. So there was a whole, there was so much going on. And it was a blur, but it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Amazing. Now, we're recording this 2 days after the photo shoot. How do you feel?
I feel, so there's different parts of me that feel different things. Not physically, but I thought, we were talking earlier, I thought in my head that as soon as my shoot finishes, I'm going to head to the nearest, Five Guys or Pizza Hut buffet, or Nando's or whatever, and just go nuts. I'd planned that in my head, that would be my reward, but I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel to go nuts or I didn't feel the need to reward myself, and actually saw that doing that as not it wasn't a reward anymore. My understanding of nutrition, my understanding of health and how you look after yourself, it has changed so much that actually I didn't suddenly have this urge to go and binge at the nearest junk food place or just grab a bag of donuts or anything like that. And still, 2 days later, I don't suddenly feel the need to eat on site or eat everything in sight. I'm still controlled. Still, we went to the gym, and I'm still in that frame of mind. So I'm feeling good, feeling pumped, and actually feeling more motivated than ever to now maintain and keep this level of physique and energy, and just the way that I'm feeling right now.
Do you feel like a new person? Because you mentioned that the photo shoot day was the end of a chapter, essentially. Do you feel like a new chapter's been opened?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I felt like a new person for a long time. I felt like I completed this process or this journey has changed my personality. It's changed my sort of outlook on life. It's changed my tolerance to people, but tolerance to different attitudes about health and wellness, about eating, nutrition, and all of that. Just because I've had to endure all of the comments that everyone listening to this podcast will be able to relate to along that journey, all of those comments that you get, all of the unsolicited advice about health and wellness and fitness from everyone who suddenly becomes an expert, who's never meal prepped before, but how suddenly that's a bad thing, or they've never been to the gym, but me going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week can't be good for my bones. My knees will suffer, and you'll get germs and you have more chance of getting ill because there's more germs in the gym.
All the experts come up.
All the experts come out, yeah. And that was one. One person said to me, well, going to the gym 4 times a week is really dangerous because the amount of germs.
Oh, he actually said this?
Yeah. Because there's so much germs in the gym. I said, sure, there are. I get it. I'm not licking the seats or licking the weights. I'm not getting crazy about it. But he said, yeah, like you should be careful. I said, careful of what? MRSA in the gym. I think I'll be fine. And so all of these sudden experts start coming out of the woodwork. Same with the food. Oh, surely like eating, 150 grams of chicken, that can't be enough. Like, surely can't be enough. Or, oh, but you've got this much rice. That's too much rice. Or that's too much this, or too little of this. Without any, they've watched some video on Facebook somewhere or on YouTube somewhere, or they've watched a documentary which is uninformed, and they're misinformed about the whole thing. So having to deal with all of that as well. So I'm definitely I've definitely been feeling like this new person. The shoot day, it definitely was the culmination of all of it. But in all honesty, I think I'd crossed that threshold before the shoot day. The shoot day was just the cherry on top, if we're allowed cherries. But that's what it was for me. And actually, in that, when you think of it like that, it was somewhat anticlimactic. I didn't completely change the next day because I was already this new person.
Yeah. During the process, you had a very strong why to begin with. Did you feel that shift throughout? Did you feel like you dealt with a lot of the why early on? Like you mentioned now that you already felt like it changed.
Yeah.
Did your why shift throughout that period? Did you have different reasons? Do you have different reasons now?
Yeah, for sure. So
how has it evolved over the 2-year period?
You know what? So when I started, it was purely to find something to focus myself on, so I could find some sense of purpose again in life. When you are in a situation in your life where everything is going really, really well, and all of a sudden, like a plaster being pulled off in a very short period, a lot of those things that are going super well get taken away from you or stop being super well in your life. And for me, those two things are my business and my marriage. And as a guy, you feel really out of control. You feel really out of your depth because suddenly all of these decisions are being made for you. The sense of purpose was what my big why was, and what my reasons for doing this were. As I went through the journey, and I found myself again, and I was able to use this journey to act as my almost like a temporary purpose. To have that focus on every day, I knew I would spend X amount of time purely on myself, zoning out, doing my workout or doing my meal prep or whatever it might be. It was purely for myself. That has changed. The why has changed more from being finding my purpose to actually educating other people about the benefits of health and wellness, especially people around me, friends, my cousins, so the younger generation of my family who have always been impressed when they see me after a few months rather than scared like some of the older generation. Just because they don't know what's going on, they think that me losing weight and getting into shape is not necessarily an achievement. They think it's maybe a reaction to a bad period of my life, but actually it's the entire opposite. Me getting into shape and into the best shape of my life is it's not a negative or an adverse reaction. It's not because I'm not eating properly, because I'm depressed or because I'm sad or because I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm doing it on purpose. Whereas the younger generation, like cousins and friends and people generally my age bracket, who were impressed by it, I found that they were inspired by it as well. So then I felt this really keen sense of duty to carry on and be even better at it and train even better than I could and make sure I hit my targets and did everything I could do the best that I could do, because all of a sudden I knew that people were watching the journey, because I started sharing it more and more on social media, and the kind of messages I was getting from people were like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I wish I could do something like that. And I was like, wow, there are people out there who believe that they can't do something like this for whatever reason that they've got. So I found myself in this weird position of being, of inspiring other people because of what had happened in my life, to then me sort of being okay with it and being okay about it and coming through it and not turning to drugs and alcohol and depression and all of these other things that were waiting on the other side of this journey, rather than choosing to focus on myself. So I found myself really getting deeper and deeper into this conversation about mental health and men's mental health, and how, so many men are under so much pressure to do things a certain way, to be certain things for their families, for their partners, for their kids, and so on, that all of this pressure, it takes its toll. And the more and more I started looking into this and reading about it, the more and more men who started reaching out to me saying, oh, I wish I could do what you did. I don't necessarily wish I went through what you went through, but I wish I could do what you did in terms of focusing on yourself, achieving something completely new and random in your life. I've never been, I was slim when I was a teenager. Throughout my 20s, gradually put on weight. I was chubby from probably 25, 26 onwards, until I started this program in my early 30s. So I was always that sort of chubby. It wasn't fat as such, but wasn't in shape. And I found myself being this role model of sorts to certain people, and that suddenly became my why. And that then triggered my competing in Spartan races, which I ended up completing 3 in 1 year to be awarded the trifecta, the Spartan trifecta, which I'm doing again this year. And that's become a whole new thing. And I was saying to my mum the other day, can you believe it? 18 months ago, if you had told me I would do a fitness photo shoot in the gym where there were people who had been training for years, there were bodybuilders there that day, and, little old me would be taking my top off in the gym to do this fitness photo shoot and looking the part as well, not just faking it. I actually was there. I'd worked enough. I was qualified to be able to do this shoot now, and do this Spartan endurance, extreme Spartan endurance racing around the world. Like, I would have not just laughed in your face. I would have said, "Don't insult me. Like, don't be so stupid. Don't patronize me. If you had told me that 18 months ago that you're going to be in this place, best shape of your life, doing this, achieving all this, you've since gone on to double your business and things are good," I would have probably felt patronized rather than, oh, that's a good sort of supportive person. So, the why has changed over the journey, and I think that's completely normal.
Why do you think, you touched on men's mental health, why do you think so many men are struggling with this aspect of mental health and feeling the pressure and not being able to work on that?
And I think it comes down to a lot of it is just the stigma of that it's not okay to talk about it, but whereas in fact it's completely okay to talk about it. I think men's social groups are not built for the same level of support as women have. So women will have multiple social groups with who they can talk about different parts of their lives, things that are going on in their lives. And it may not be in I'm not talking about therapy or counseling or anything like that. Just friends, just talking and saying, oh, how are things at home? Or how are things with your husband or with your partner or with your kids or with your mother-in-law or whatever. And women talk about this stuff, and we in jest we say, and we laugh this off, but we say the women are just having a little bit of a moan over there. But actually, that's so important. Whereas with guys, we don't have that level of connection. Because if I say to you, and we're down the pub one day, and I say, "Oh, do you know what? I'm having a real tough time with someone at work, or having a real tough time with the missus." What is the general reaction? And this, I'm generalizing. I'm not saying this is every male out there or every guy's social group is like this, but for the large part, it's, "Come on, Nakash, man up, have a beer, have a shot, let's get lashed." And that tends to be the excuse or the solution for a lot of things. And it has been the culture within a male friendship group to get each other to man up. But there's a great campaign that I've been seeing called Being Mankind. And it says, who knew that telling a man to man up could bring a man down at the same time? Because what that's doing is telling each other, is telling us, it's not okay to talk. I don't want to hear your problems. Keep it to yourself. So then we end up bottling it up. And we feel shy or embarrassed or scared to talk about it with anyone else. Sometimes we can't talk about it with our partners because either A, they're the problem, or B, the relationship is just different. We don't have that same outlet as women do. So because it gets bottled up so much, it manifests itself in horrible things like drugs or crime or worse, right? Where domestic abuse starts to creep in because that becomes the outlet. And it's easier to do that, as in it's more accessible to do that than it is to talk about it for men, which is bad. So there's so many campaigns right now which are trying to address this, which I think are great. That it's okay to talk, it's okay to, it's okay not to be okay, it's okay to feel a bit vulnerable. But it all comes down to having that community, having that support network, and letting people know that it's okay sometimes to not be, the big, strong, macho man. And you don't have to be that. You don't have to pretend to be that role or that figure all the time. And that adds so much pressure. So I think a lot of the root cause of this is that pressure that we put on ourselves because of media, movies, what we've seen, how we've learned about what it means to be a man growing up watching movies and shows and what have you, as well as our parents as well, and learning from our parents' generations how they provided. And we almost think, well, if we can't provide like they provided, then it makes us less of a man for our families. But the world has changed. People have changed. There's not enough focus on this, but it is getting there, and I'm seeing a lot more of it, which is great.
Did you have that support network when you were at your lowest?
It's the only reason I was able to even consider something like RNT, because I had that support network. I have no shame in saying I had a counselor when I was going through my marriage problems. I sought a counselor where I just went by myself just as an outlet to talk about what was going on. And it sounds really scary, like, oh, you had a counselor, that's weird. But it's just talking to someone, like just met up with someone and said, hey, can I just have like an hour of your time? I just need to offload. And it's just saying, oh yeah, this happened today. And they're just asking, how did that make you feel? And I'm saying, well, that made me feel shit. Oh, this made me feel really good. Okay, let's focus on the good stuff and let's deal with the stuff that made you feel not so great. Why did that not make you feel so great? So you're trying to tap into why you are who you are and why you react a certain way, and try and not necessarily reprogram that, but just to understand it a bit more. So yeah, having that support network was super important. But just as much as having people around you at that time is really, really important, also them giving you your space and not being smothered is super important as well. So that's something I'm really grateful for as well, that my family and my friends, they were all there. They all messaged me. They all were saying, look, we're always here for you when you need it. But credit to them. They listened when I said, look, I really appreciate it. I love you all very much. I just need my space for this period of time. I'm okay. I just need to be dealing with a lot of stuff myself, and my space and my dealing with it myself was basically in the gym with headphones on, in the zone, and that was my if you want to call it that, take it that far, that was my therapy.
Yeah, it's therapy for a lot of people, and there's something very cathartic about being in the gym.
Yeah,
that gives it the therapeutic attributes that you're relating to.
Yeah,
and it's exactly that focus within yourself on your own that then allows you to propel forward elsewhere.
Exactly, and it became very clear I had no focus on myself before, because all of my focus was on my business, all of my focus was on other people, and at the time it felt right. No one's going to say you're a bad husband or a bad boyfriend or a bad partner for focusing on your other half. No one's going to say that's really bad of you to do that. How can you even think about that? So you go along life thinking that you're doing the right thing, but by doing so, a lot of us sacrifice the focus on ourselves. So we give all of our focus onto the people who we love, and that can include your kids as well. But you can't be the best person for that child or for that partner or for that business if you haven't got the focus on yourself. And it reminds me of one of my absolute favorite analogies. I know me and you both love analogies. When you get on a plane, as the plane is taxiing to the runway, what does the pilot say over the intercom? Ladies and gents, in the event of the
oxygen mask on for yourself first.
Accident, the oxygen mask will fall. Put your own oxygen mask on first and then help the person next to you, even if that person next to you is your child. Now, instinct will say, to hell with myself. I want to protect my child or protect my loved one or my parents or my partner or whatever it is. But what good are you going to be to that person if you're choking or you're suffocating yourself? No good at all. If anything, you're doing more harm to that person and those people around you who you love, who you claim to want to protect, by not protecting yourself, but by not putting your own oxygen mask on first, you're doing more harm to those who you claim to protect. So put your own oxygen mask on, and that was what this process became for me. Because that allows me now to become the best version of myself going forward into new businesses, into new relationships, into new partnerships, into new friendships.
Yeah.
I can be the best version of myself, fully topped up with my own oxygen.
And the other important factor there is you don't end up losing your identity in other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like and relationships, which is such a common one, where people wrap their entire life and identity around another person or an ideal that's in between and somewhere in the air, but they forget all about themselves. And when that ideal goes, everything goes.
Well, that was part of my problem. My focus was so much on who I should be in my marriage, who I should be for this person, that and you end up losing yourself. You're absolutely right, and you don't see that.
So for people that are in this situation, like they may, for either the ones who have lost their identity in something, or even they've come out of it and they're in a really bad place. What advice do you give to them, especially if they haven't got a good support system or they haven't got a high level of self-awareness to be able to understand what's going on?
You mean into like fitness and RNT?
No, anything. Like how do they get themselves out of this?
So first and foremost, find yourself a community of a support community. Seek out people who are either going through something similar, so you can go through it together. Because as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. Seek out the help, because the help is there. Whether it's formalized help in the form of counseling or some sort of therapy or whatever is not the solution for everyone. But there are communities out there, there are groups out there are your own contacts who will be more than happy to help. It's just because it's a bit taboo, because it's a bit awkward sometimes to talk about it, it gets brushed under the rug. So I would say very consciously and actively seek out some support. If you haven't got that support group or support environment around you, and if you're in an environment that doesn't support your growth, doesn't support that, then yeah, you've got to be harsh with yourself and get yourself out of that environment.
Yeah. Another thing you touched on is ever since you've essentially transformed, your business has been booming.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? And what are the parallels that you've noticed between a physical transformation and being at your best in business, or for anyone who's a high performer?
So there's basically, there's loads of parallels that I could draw, but the three that that keep coming up over and over again, and that I constantly keep referring to just naturally when I talk about this, is the first one is this concept of ruthless consistency, which was when you told me about that when I first started training, I was like, yeah, that's so simple. It's just so simple. And doing things or doing the same thing over and over again, sometimes without the result being obvious straight away, was the first big lesson that I could draw parallel between personal training and business as well. In the gym, I found myself sometimes doing the same reps, the same weight, the same machines over and over again for weeks, months. I was eating the same thing pretty much for months and months, and not always seeing the gains and not always seeing the results that you see on the photos of other people, and not always seeing the same level of progress, and remembering that if you are that consistent, if you are ruthlessly consistent, that one day you'll go into the gym and all of a sudden you'll be able to lift a heavier weight. And that's the experience I found with training. And when I learned to accept that consistency doesn't mean instant results. Consistency means doing things sometimes over and over again. It's like the whole, wash, rinse, and repeat. You sometimes have to keep washing, rinsing, and repeating over and over and over again. It's like wax on, wax off. And before you know it, you're going to have the result that you want. And I found that in the gym by eating the same thing, by training the same way. Even if I wasn't progressing in my actual weights, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it and know that it's compounding somewhere. Because that one day I walked into the gym and I was able to lift heavier, or the same weight suddenly felt lighter. I was like, oh, I think I've got the wrong weight here. But actually, no, I crossed that threshold of that particular routine and I was able to lift heavier. Same applies in business. You can be blogging and publishing content for months and years and using social media to market yourself and making sales calls and, doing all the things that you need to do in business over and over and over again, going to networking events week in, week out, without the obvious results. But all of a sudden, you blog for long enough, you keep your posting up on social media and engaging and giving value for long enough, you keep attending these networking events long enough for people to get to know you better. And all of a sudden, it's like that. The leads start coming in, the sales start coming in, the recognition starts coming in. You get a speaking opportunity here, you get your website traffic increases suddenly, your social media following increases all of a sudden. It's because of that ruthless consistency that you kept going, kept doing the same thing, until the meter topped up enough to deliver the results. So that was the first big parallel. The second parallel was about having a goal, knowing where you're going. In the gym, I see this now that I'm more educated about it. I see it so much. You see these people in the gym walking around machine to machine, not really knowing what they're doing, why they're doing it, what it's doing to their body. They're only going on that machine because it's the next one that's free. There's no one else on it. So, okay, yep, I'll jump on this machine. And they whack out 10 reps at some random weight on it. And then they get up feeling accomplished. Okay, what machine is free next? And it could be from a hack squat or a leg curl to something completely unrelated, different body part, completely not part of any logical routine. And they're just sort of jumping around like that. And then they do that for 2 years. So they do that consistently. They do that They do. Because you can be consistent. You can be badly consistent as well.
Yeah.
So they do that for 2 years, and they still haven't got into the shape of their lives. And then obviously it's the gym's fault, or it's their body shape, or their bones, or whatever. Some excuse. It's never the fact that they were doing it wrong. And in business, I see the same thing. People not having a target for their financial goals in their business. They don't know how many clients they want. They don't know how much website traffic they want. They don't know how many sales they want a day, a month, a year from the website, or how many inquiries they want. They don't know how many social media followers they need to reach a certain number of people to share their message. They're just doing it blindly. They post every now and then. They'll blog every now and then. They'll go to another networking event once a month because it's free, or because they're free that evening. And they're just wandering around aimlessly. And then in 2 years' time, they may have made a few sales. Yeah, sure. But there's no life-changing situation that they dreamt of when they first quit their job to start that business. Most people quit their job, to work less and earn more. That's the dream, right? But the sad part of it is, because they end up jumping around like this with no consistency, or they are consistent but badly consistent, doing the wrong things consistently, they end up working more but earning less. They were actually better off in their job. More security, more benefits, less drama, less pressure, less late nights. Get your paycheck and go home without all the drama of running your own business. So that was the second big parallel, was to have a goal and know where you want to go. And the third was having a coach to tell you, or to sanity check your goals, and to tell you, okay, do this, or don't do this in order to get to that goal that you set. And do this consistently and you'll get the goal. So they all work together. The coach is almost like the glue that holds it all together, in that you start off with all these bits of education, these small fragments of knowledge, and your coach will move away the bits that are no good or not helpful, and put the bits that are good together, glue it into this sort of action plan for you, and you just have to then consistently execute that. And that's what I did with my training. And when the penny dropped, to say, why am I complicating my business life with all these other clever things? Is it to prove to myself and others that I'm just really clever, or what? And actually, let me simplify and strip down everything to, let me find the 5 things in my business that I need to do constantly, every day, every week, every month, ruthlessly, consistently. And we have actual goals. I want this many clients, which will give me this many pounds in my bank account, which will allow me to invest this many pounds in this. So really get granular with it. And then find someone who's been there and done it, or can sanity check your goals and say, okay, yep, you're doing this wrong. Tell you what, do this at this time, this at this time, and do this many times, and you'll get the result that you want. And that's exactly how RNT works. You, as my coach, said to me, eat this food, eat this much of this food, go to the gym and do this at the gym, and do it this many times at the gym. There's no need to make it up. There's no need to go a bit above or below. Do it this many times and eat this much of this, and you'll get the result if you do that consistently enough. And there we go. There's the shoot, which we did 2 days ago, as a result of those 3 main pillars of my transformation. And those 3 pillars now is how I run my business as well.
Amazing. Now, I've seen so many parallels between the two, and not only in what you've said as the pillars, but also through the process itself. The whole concept of delayed gratification, pushing through the dip, having consolidation periods, thinking long term. There's just so much that runs in parallel. And one thing I want to ask you is, how did you deal with making your journey so far has been nearly 2 years, and while you've dropped a considerable amount of weight. You started at 85, 86 kilos, and your lowest weight was around 61 kilos. So it's a lot of weight. you did it in two segments. You
Yeah.
had like the first 15 months or so where you dropped 15 kilos.
Yeah.
And then you dropped 10 kilos in about 4 months.
Yeah, yeah.
What was going on there? Why was there two noticeably different phases?
Yeah.
Because the first way you did it, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Then like, you're still heading in the right direction. But it was a very different approach. It was very much more slow burning. You'll get there in the end, but it'll be some point. But what was the flip, and why did you have two distinctly different periods?
So for me, it comes down to lifestyle. One of the big reasons I started a business 11 years ago was to live a certain lifestyle. I never wanted to be shackled by someone else who I didn't really like very much, telling me when I could go on annual leave with my family or my friends, or when I could take some time off, or where I could work from. So I've always been very against that. So my big why in terms of my work has been lifestyle. So that year of my first year of training, over the course of 12 months, I think I traveled to 13 different countries. And there were big trips, some of them. We're talking Vegas, New York, Boston, Vancouver, plus loads of small trips as well. So I was traveling a lot, and I found that actually when I travel, I like to enjoy going out, trying new foods. My training naturally takes a hit when I'm traveling. So my progress was much slower. It took a year or the best part of 15 months to see that initial phase of weight loss. Is because I combined it with the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I do see so many other transformations happen in 20, 30 weeks or so much less time. For me, it was about how do I build this into my lifestyle. I didn't want it to be, for me, a one-hit extreme transformation. I wanted it to be a lifelong transformation, something that I can build into the way I want to live my life for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to do a 15-week transformation every time I want to get in shape. I want to do it constantly in the background. It's always there, as well as going on holidays. What changed was a period, actually, of no travel. So from the new year, and you're always on a bit of a hype at New Year's time as well, new year, new me, sort of, you fall into that a little bit. But it was very early in January this year, 2019, where I think it was just a spontaneous decision that, okay, I've been doing this long enough now. I haven't got the end result that I wanted. And at this same pace, it's going to take me another year because I want to carry on traveling this year. I want to do my trips and I want to live my lifestyle still. So I literally just decided, right, let me park everything else and spend the next 3 months focusing purely on getting ready for my shoot, and then consolidating so I can live the rest of my life in this sort of mindset of maintaining a certain physique, maintaining a certain look and feel to myself.
Yeah, essentially drop the hammer in January.
Yeah,
after a slow burner, and I think it's an important distinction to make, because one thing I said to you on the shoot day was you've got a lot of muscle on show.
Yeah,
which is great, and I think the reason why is because you didn't do it so quickly. You had that period of 15 months where, yes, you lost 15 kilos, but you also built a substantial amount of muscle, and that's what allowed you to display the physique you have now.
Yeah.
Because you probably didn't build much muscle in the last 4 months, right, because of the way we were going and how hard we were going. But in that 15 months before, the 18 months before, you're building your base essentially.
Yeah.
And I think you probably lost more than 15 kilos of body fat. Body weight was down 15 kilos. But I think that period of slow burning was why you were able to display such a good physique. And it's a real testament to the muscle we've built.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can gain inspiration from that, because the one thing people say is they get lean, but they don't like the way they look. They think they're too skinny. It's because you haven't got any muscle and you haven't put that time in to build the foundation. So that's the massive upside that you've had from going.
And that's another parallel in business as well. That's and I never thought about it that way, but now that you mention it, that's also how I build my businesses. solid foundation. I don't mind not getting customers for 6 months, 7 months. And yes, I fully respect as a startup, some people may not be able to weather the storm for 6 months without a customer. But if you're in that mindset of building that solid foundation first and then growing on that, so I'm very much for building businesses slightly slower. I'm not I'm not the aggressive business builder type. Aggressive marketing, aggressive growth. I'm much more chilled out pace. It might take a year longer, but actually I'll then overtake you because I've got a much more solid foundation, and I'll from a longevity point of view, I'll see it out for much longer.
Yeah, and that consolidation period or that foundation building is essentially what we're doing right now at RNT, which is why we haven't. We're not taking on clients at the moment because we're almost creating that platform to then push on in the future. And I think it's a great parallel there. And I don't think I would have thought about it until we just mentioned it there. But that is essentially why I think you've come up with a really good physique. And hopefully people can see your story and think, okay, now I can see the benefits of a long-term muscle building period because it's actually going to give me what I want. Most people want to look good year round. They want to look lean, but they also want the muscle to show for it, guy or girl.
Yeah.
But in order to build that muscle, that's where you got to put the months in.
For sure.
So what's next for Suraj then?
What's next? Well, I'm currently probably traveling around Asia when this podcast is released. I'm gonna, in terms of my health and fitness, I'm signed up for 3 more Spartan races this year. I did that before my shoot day because I knowing myself and being aware of how I operate, how I work, I need that target, I need that goal. So the rest of this year will be about preparing for Spartan and working on my strength for that and endurance and stamina, which is obviously a very different type of preparation for that compared to a photo shoot. And business-wise, it's wash, rinse, and repeat. Keep doing the basics really well. Do them really consistently. Keep having those goals, and there's no reason why I won't hit those goals doing the things that I know work.
And for the listeners wondering what business you're in, do you want to give a quick background on the couple of things you have going on?
Yeah, sure. So the couple of different things that I do is one is website development and maintenance. For WordPress websites, whether it's e-commerce websites or brochure sites. We also have an unlimited graphic design service where our customers pay a monthly fee and they get unlimited graphic design services. They can check that out at designhero.uk. And that's a fun, creative way of working with other businesses and other entrepreneurs. I also run events, Entrepreneur Jam, which you, Akash, have spoken at earlier this year. And that's just about, again, bringing a community of entrepreneurs together to network with, to collaborate with, to offload to, because as entrepreneurs, we sometimes don't get that support from those around us, especially when we're starting out. So having a community of people to support you and support what you're doing and help you to get there faster and tell you where you're going wrong and call you out on stuff, that's what that event is all about.
Amazing. And if you're in the London area, in the UK, I'd highly recommend checking out on the Entrepreneur Jam events. They run every month.
Once a month, yeah.
Every month, yeah. So you can just check out the website. We'll put the links in the show notes if you'd like to check those events out. Let's finish off with some rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first one is, you said you're a big fan of food. What would be your go-to meal if you had the choice of?
Crispy aromatic duck with pancakes and the plum sauce and all the bits that go inside it, with some chicken and black bean sauce, egg fried rice, and Chinese food basically.
Very specific. That was very specific.
Yeah, I'm that guy that goes to Chinese restaurants saying I'm going to try something different, but I order the same thing every single time.
Perfect. Big fan of travel. What is the country you're most looking forward to visiting that you haven't already?
I'm really looking forward to visiting Vietnam, Cambodia this year, and that's my big bucket list for this year.
Amazing. And who should we have on the podcast next?
Oh, so many people. Arnie.
Arnold,
Let's go
what's
for
funny
Arnold.
is you've said this is now the third person. I said it
Yeah.
on my. I don't know if you heard it on my episode 70, I think, or 69. I said I wanted Arnold, and then I interviewed Josh Keegan earlier. He said Arnold, and now you said Arnold. So
Let's make it happen.
The stars must be aligning.
Stars are aligning. Let's make it happen.
We'll have to make this happen now. Amazing. Any parting words? Where can people find you?
Best place to find me is probably Instagram at Suraj Sodha. But usual social media platforms. I'm obviously quite active in the RNT Family group as well. So if anyone who's going through this journey, starting out or in their phase 2, getting ready for their shoot, please reach out to me. And that's my way of giving back to the RNT family, because so many of you were really supportive of me, messaging me before I even reached out. When people knew that I was doing a shoot, people who had recently done a shoot messaged me saying, "Hey, I've just done my shoot. This is what to expect. It'll be fine. You'll be good. I know exactly what you're going through right now." So if anyone wants a bit of an offload, I'm just on the other end of a phone.
Amazing. If you enjoyed today's episode with Suraj and you'd like to learn more about his journey, please feel free to check out the case study that will be in our show notes, and you can read all about his transformation and see the amazing story behind it all. For more information, please visit www.rntfitness.co.uk or follow us on Instagram at rnt_fitness. Thanks for listening.